It's on.
We're ready. I need my glasses. I'm sorry. May we be thankful for this day you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges as unique as they are in the world today. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give up.
Thank you, President Jim. So tonight we are pleased to welcome Alicia Savage, the Executive Director for South Shore Charter Public School, which is my alma mater and is a place that has really evolved over the years. But one theme that has always remained consistent is really promoting community service, community involvement, and really helped instill some of the values in me that encouraged me to join Rotary. And Alicia has been with the school for about 10 years now and has been a great force of advancement and development there. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Alicia Savage to Rotary.
Thank you, Steve. Steve is being modest. He's been a tremendous supporter of our school for years, a member of the foundation, always very active, always very involved. And we definitely appreciate that support and all the support that we've received from all of our alum. It's been truly fantastic. And as we're getting bigger and a little bit older, we're finding that the alum do play a really essential role in our institution and who we are as a school. So I just like to talk a little bit about our school. I brought some slides, but I probably can't show them because it's probably hard to screen share. But we do have a really nice K through 12 program. We have approximately 1,040 students. We had 1,040 last year. We've managed to keep those students despite the pandemic. One thing that keeps us a little bit different from everybody else is that our teachers are very, very flexible. So there's a project-based component to our school, and there's a lot that happens in the classroom that just encourages flexibility, encourages creativity, encourages creative thinking. So, when we did have to go remote, we were able to transfer some of that to a remote environment, which was great. One of the things that we've been very, very proud of is our commitment to service. So there is a service learning requirement at every single grade. So kindergarten, they have to do 5 good deeds. They talk about their good deeds and they write about them if they can towards the end of the year. And then by first grade, they have to, do 10 minutes of community service. So by the time that they reach high school, they have logged some serious community service hours. So we're really proud of that and sending our students out into the world. The other thing that we really love about our school is its diversity. We have over 26 sending districts, which means that we get students from all over the South Shore. I don't know how familiar you are with the lottery process, but our lottery is completely random. So what happens is families apply to come to the school, they fill out an application, and their name goes into, it used to be a fishbowl, but now it's an electronic lottery. And then every single grade gets a certain number of spaces depending upon our enrollment. And we fill that by taking those names one at a time. And those who don't gain admission usually have a spot on the wait list or wait pool if they apply after the application deadline. So our lottery last year was held March 2nd. We had like 1,000 applications. We have about 1,000 every single year. And we always have a really significant wait list too. So we're able to keep our student population growing and really able to get a nice group of kids from the South Shore. It's exciting to be here with Weymouth tonight. Weymouth is our #1 sending district. We have many Weymouth families where we also have a lot of students coming from Randolph. I think that's our #2. Brockton, Rockland, those are our big senders, but we have students from everywhere. We have students from Scituate, Marshfield, Cohasset. We have students, Braintree, that's a popular area too. So Holbrook, we do have a really nice, diverse group of students. And one thing that we're always working on with our students is being sure that they are college bound. So, we do have some programs early on that will really get them thinking about what the next step is after South Shore Charter. So, we start, of course, grade 9, but we also do things a little bit earlier, like with the community service, with the project-based learning. We offer Spanish in kindergarten, and then students can take, foreign language all the way through. So we have students that are doing AP Spanish by the time they reach 10th and 11th grade. And that's important to us, and it's important to our families. We have little things like, SAT prep for all of our kids, because we know they're not all coming from the same background. We have, and that's free. We offer very select college counseling. We also have a nice dual partnership program with some of the colleges that are around us, and they come in and they'll teach a course or two, and that way students can get college credit. We have one student who took that so far that he was ready for an associate's degree by the time he graduated from us. So you can do as much as you like with that. We will pay for one college course. If you do well in it, we will consider paying for more than one. And also, of course, advanced placement counts towards that college course requirement. So, we do have all different types of projects and workshops, which is really what makes us unique on the South Shore. So projects are for students K through 8, and then workshops are for students 9 through 12. And those are where students can explore all of their interests that they have. And they can do things like music or art. We have a really terrific art program. We have graphic design. We have students working on fashion. They do a fashion show every year. They work on their art portfolios so they can present those to colleges should they want to go to art school. Our music workshop is very successful. We have students pursuing that in college once they graduate from those programs. So we are very, very proud of that, and that is what makes us a draw. It's also with this pandemic, one of the things that we had to do is go back and look at our programming and put things aside. And one of the things that we had to put aside for cohorting reasons was the workshop, and that's up at the high school. So we could do it at the middle school, but we couldn't do it at the high school because of the cohorting. And when we announced that to our school community, the feedback that we got was tremendous. It really is something that's so essential to who we are that we had to really rethink how we were going to do it virtually, and what we were going to do in the hybrid model, and what we were going to do in person if everybody had to be distanced. So it is something that students really cling to, and it's an important part of who we are as a school. So we know that we can't have them up at the high school the way that we wanted to, but we do know that it's essential that we offer some of those things that keep kids drawn to school. And we do have a separate high school. 4 years ago, we moved the high school students over to 700 Longwater. Our building is initially at 100 Longwater, which was where we moved when from Hull. We were in Hull early on. So we had 3 buildings in Hull, then we moved to Norwell under one roof, and where we were K through 12, and then the school got so big that we had to break up a little bit. And so now we have 2 separate campuses and really 3 buildings. So we're sort of going back to our original Hull roots. But, we're excited about the new year. Despite all of the challenges, we've been working all summer long, getting that program ready, just like all of the other districts. We have a plan. We have a plan for remote learning. We have a plan for hybrid learning. We have a plan for in-person learning. We have many, many protocols from the state that we have to follow. And even with all that, we're still, greatly looking forward to the upcoming school year. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, we appreciate, first of all, thank you for joining us tonight. We know how busy you must be, and it's unbelievable times for you. How many students do you think will actually be in-person learning versus hybrid or strictly online?
So that's a great question. when we met with the commissioner, we meet with the commissioner about once a week. And, he goes over where we are in terms of, the COVID rates in the communities and, different things that district leaders have to figure out. So everybody's on this call. So all of the superintendents are on the call, all the charter school leaders are on the call. And one thing that he really wanted early on was in-person learning. And, he was very much like, plan for in-person. And, I think there's a real value to that, right? We have so many students that rely on us for things other than education. We have students that, need that hot meal every day, or sometimes need those 2 hot meals every day. We have students who have learning services that, they can't take a hiatus. We're a full inclusion school, and, those teleservices were challenging for some. We have students who are EL, English is their second language, and they need all of those extra supports, that we were able to provide online, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. And I think, when we went into this March 16th, we were told 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks to flatten the curve. But now we're at a point where it's a long time for kids to be home. And the kids have really missed a lot. And I think one mistake that adults make is that we take our experience with this pandemic and we talk about how bad it is because we can't do certain things. But it's not developmentally as much of a problem for an adult as it is for a child. A child's brain is developing, they're growing, they're learning. Children learn through social interaction with one another. That's all been halted. So I can completely understand why people want to have school in person. It's really, really important. And I'm concerned that that may not happen. So one thing that we did is we did plan for those 3 models. We planned for the in-person, and we planned for hybrid, and we planned for full remote. And the commissioner asked us to do 3 full plans. And then as the summer progressed, it became more important. That remote program became a little bit more important, right? Because we weren't where we needed to be in terms of COVID cases. And so what happened was, even though we were always going to plan for the 3, we just started trying to wrap our minds around what full remote would look like. So we have our 3 plans. Our in-person learning will be for students in kindergarten and grade 1. So we're going to offer full in-person, if we can, for kindergarten and grade 1. And we're able to do it with our kindergarten because of the number of students that we have in the classes. And we're able to space those students out 6 feet apart. Because kindergarten is a little bit different. Kindergarten, they're a little bit more flexible with the mask rule, which, because younger kids struggle with that, right? So kindergarten, 1st grade, they're a little bit more flexible, which is fine. But if you are going to be flexible with that mask rule, you need to keep kids 6 feet apart. So, there's a little bit of flexibility anywhere between 3 to 6 feet, but with your kindergarten and your 1st grade students, it really has to be that 6 feet because a mask is going to fall off. A child's going to touch it. That's just the way that those younger students roll. So, what we decided to do was take the 1st grade class and divide them in half, and we doubled our teachers, and we will use that space, the extra classrooms that we have from cohorting the upper grades. And so we have 4 additional classroom spaces, and we'll try to keep our youngest learners in every single day for as long as we possibly can. Just for that reason that we mentioned, it's so developmentally appropriate for them to be with an adult and learning. You don't want your younger children in front of the screen that much. And if we have to go full remote, then we have to look at something like distance because there's just so much screen time that isn't good for kids. And we know that, and to rely on this model is a little bit troubling. So with the hybrid model, that's what we're doing for students grades 2 through 12. And we were asked to make that synchronous learning, which means that students can log in at the same time as their regular class, and they'll just log in and half the class will be in person and then half the class will be remote. So that's what we're doing for 2 through 12. But then there's also a third group, which will be full remote, because those students are at risk of getting serious side effects should they contract COVID, or there's somebody at home that could have a serious issue too. So we're offering full hybrid to everyone. And so when we sent out a parent survey, let me back up. We've sent out about 3 or 4 parent surveys since this started. In the most recent survey, we asked parents to identify which hybrid model would be best for them. And they identified, by a slim margin, they identified the week on, week off model. And then we also asked them to let us know if they were thinking about the full remote option for their family. And we had about 13% of our families say, you know what, it's just not that safe. You know, I can stay home, so I'll keep my child home. You know, other families may not have that luxury, but there is a fear. There's a lot of fear with sending children into school and having them bring something back, or having them get sick themselves, because there is no vaccine yet. So it runs the gamut. We have parents that want their children in every single day, and then we have parents that are like, you know, well, it probably won't work for us. And you know, there's no right answer, which is the other fascinating thing about all of this. Nobody has the right answer, because all of the decisions are difficult and they're not great.
That's fantastic. Can you tell me how's the who does transportation? Is there also a transportation issue getting the kids into school? That's got to be a nightmare if you've got different schedules and stuff. I just worried how you're managing that.
Well, any student that lives in Norwell is provided transportation from the town of Norwell, but with their schedule, they're still working that out. So they're doing something a little bit differently than we are. So we may not get that. We don't have too many students from Norwell. I want to say we have 3. We do have 2 private bus companies that the parents hire separately. So we don't have any control over, you know, what happens on that bus, right? But what we do know is that those safety protocols absolutely have to be followed. They're just not negotiable. So in terms of the spacing and the open windows, and everybody has to wear a mask. If that's not happening, then they can't come into the building, because we just can't put people at risk. So, you know, that's what's happening there. I will say that one bus company, because of the restrictions, has decided to hold off on bus services until November, until they know a little bit better. And then the other bus company is going to try to make a go of it.
Well, I would have to think, just knowing little kids and it is in junior achievement, so the 1st and 2nd graders, they're huggers. So it's got to be hard to keep those little kids down. I just feel so bad, because I know those kids they're just so social and they really need it. And I really hope something can work out that's safe, because I understand the children really do need each other. And I'm really so awed at what you guys are doing. I'm just really impressed and just so grateful.
Alicia, I have a question. I listened to a blurb on the radio today, 104.1, and they had a survey about there's some town that requires all children that stay home must be dressed for their lessons. And there was a big survey. What do parents think? Is this a good thing, a bad thing? It was all over the place. What is your opinion on that?
Right, so we've all had sort of like a trial run for remote learning, right? Between March 16th and June, that ended up being a lot longer. So when we first were presented with this remote learning and Zoom, teachers didn't know what to make of it. They were learning on the fly. So a lot of the thought was get the children on, you know, online by any means necessary, and whatever they do, that's fine. But now that remote learning will most likely be a significant form of instruction for much of this upcoming school year, there are new parameters and standards around that. So the big thing is attendance. And you know, you do want the children to be
I want the money! Show me the money!
Can we mute Krista Mumbro?
Sorry. How do I do it?
a dress code. But what we are saying, we don't really have much of a dress code for when they are here. So we've had students, you know, show up in all types of interesting outfits. But what we are saying is that, you can blur out your backdrop because some kids don't want you to see their home. You can blur that out, but we want to see your face.
So you don't care if they're in their pajamas? You don't care?
No,
You
I mean,
don't think that?
you won't see much of their pajamas, right? Because you're only looking at their head and up. So you'll see like some shoulders and but we haven't really had, it's funny, but when we took the dress code away, and this was, oh gosh, I want to say 8 years ago, when we took it away, we also got rid of all of those issues that go with it, because there was just, it wasn't, oh, are you going to break the dress code? They just didn't, no longer became an issue.
I apologize.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, great. And Alicia, when you talked about earlier how you were planning on in-person teaching with, I think you said K and first grade.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about reflecting back when I was in a classroom, and of course now the new regulations, at least in the public school setting, are, in Weymouth it's 3 feet apart, 6 feet on either side. I guess you're kind of straight in a line. You've got a teacher in front of the room, almost classic style teaching. In light of the fact that you've got 6 feet of separation because you've broken up the rooms, do you still have to follow that sort of everybody in a line, or do you have some flexibility there?
No, we all have to follow the same guidelines. So we are anywhere from 3 to 6 feet with all of our classrooms, because some of our classrooms are smaller. We just need to keep the 6 feet for the younger students because we know how they are with masks. But the older students, we do expect to be able to follow those mask guidelines. So what everybody received, I want to say mid-July, was a parametric tool that allowed you to go into your classroom, and we went into every single classroom with this parametric tool, and you type out the measurements, and they tell you how many desks can fit in a classroom, and they give you 6 feet of teacher space, and they give you, some you have to type in how much space you need around the outside of the classroom, if there's cabinets or whatever is there, and that's how we determined our capacity for our building. And that's how we determined that we would need to be hybrid and that we wouldn't have enough space for all of the students. But all of the districts did the same type of calculation. It was really the only tool we had for that feasibility study that the state asked us for. So we used all of their guidelines and that tool.
Just one follow-up question. In those students who were working remotely, have been working remotely, did you encounter any of them that had actually no access to the technology so they could work remotely? And did you have a workaround?
So that's a great question. What we did early in the very, very beginning, so school, the 13th was our last day. So we were ready for it because we started to have students that were saying, I can't come into school because somebody at home is compromised. So what we would do is we would, we started putting all of our classes on Google Classroom so those students could access it. So when we switched over and we went full remote for everyone, we did have some students that we knew did not have access to technology, because what we asked teachers to do for the 2 weeks prior to that was just to ask students, if we have to do something remote, do you have a computer at home? Do you have to share a computer? Do you have internet access? Can you use a hotspot? We had teachers ask all of those questions in a very non-threatening way so kids wouldn't feel badly. And kids were very honest, so we had a list. Then what we did after we had our list, on the 16th, we got right on the phone and we called all of the families on the list. And then we made sure that technology went out to those families because we have so many, laptop cards and loaner laptops and things like that. So we were able to get all the students that way. Then what we did is we sent out an email to families. And then we did, 3 all calls. So within 1 week, we had everybody who needed one with a computer. And what we realized was, and we realized this early in June, is that, with there being remote learning coming quickly, and by quickly, I mean September, we would definitely need a one-to-one program. So we applied for a grant. There was money available. We're most certainly not the only school who has this issue. And hopefully we will have a Chromebook for every student come the fall.
Alicia, one thing I remember talking about during our last meeting is kind of the ratio of teachers to families that would want to just fully embrace the remote option. Has it been proportional, or are additional resources going to be needed to accommodate the families that want to just continue remotely?
Well, our families that want to continue remotely can do so by logging right into that class. So they would be in the class that the class that the child is normally scheduled for, and they're logging in and they're getting that teacher. So they're joining the hybrid group they're joining the remote part of the hybrid group every single class instead of going in. So that works. That's how that will work. We may have to switch that with our youngest students because we don't want them online all day. So we may have to be a little bit more creative with that. Send them home with packages of materials. For the first time in 10 years, we started buying workbooks again because you can bring those home and you don't have to print anything out, which was a little bit burdensome for families. So all of these things that, we're looking at for those students that, will be at home the whole time until things get safer.
Any other questions for Alicia? It's yeoman's work, to say the least, to be involved in the education system these days. Like, it wasn't more challenging enough prior to COVID. It's unbelievable, and we commend you. We all do. It's a huge amount of work preparing for multiple situations. Serving the teachers, not only taking care of the kids, but being concerned about the staff. It's an incredible undertaking, and we commend you for it, and we thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. Thank you so much.
Of course. And one thing before I go, I should say that the teachers at our school and the support staff have done an outstanding job. So June 1st, we held our first task force meeting. We had 11 task force groups planned for all 3 scenarios all summer long. So there's been over 50 hours of meeting time getting that learning plan, which was just due into the state on Friday, getting that ready for the school. So it really was a group effort. And I have to thank you for inviting me here this evening. Once we can open our building again to visitors, we would welcome any member of the Weymouth Rotary to come and take a walk through.
We'd love to see it, and keep us in touch. If there's anything we can do to help, please, you have friends here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
Is there any more business to come before the club? Hearing none, I look forward to seeing you all next week at Club Assembly. Enjoy your week.
And everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.